Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be taking on LeetCode 56 merge intervals. This is as part of my raw and authentic LeetCode walkthroughs, and I haven't done this problem, I have no submissions, and I'm going to give this one a go. So this is a medium problem. Given an array of intervals, where intervals, the index, has a start and end integer, merge all overlapping intervals and return an array of the non-overlapping intervals that cover all the intervals in the input. Okay, so that's quite a bit. Let's see the examples to see if we can understand this fully. So 1 to 3, 2 to 6. So since these are overlapping over 2 and 3, they can be merged to 1 to 6. This one can't overlap with that. And then 15 and 18 are also separate. And then here 1 and 4, 4 and 5, these are equal, so they can merge. Okay. My question is it going to be in this order? Like, am I going to have it, do I have to sort them? Because I believe, okay, well, yeah, like can 2 and 6 be over here or something? Or are they always going to be in order? I don't see anything about them being in order, so I'm gonna assume they won't always be in order. But I think I can just easily fix that by just calling the sort function. And I believe for like a matrix like this, it should automatically sort. So what we want to do is, okay, so first of all, we need like some sort of result list, right? Then what we're gonna do is, okay, let's start by like taking this number, and I guess what we can do is we can add it to the result, and then when we go to the next number, we can like figure out what to do with that, right? So okay, so we'll say like for interval in intervals, we don't always want to add it. What are some cases where because like for instance, like when we get to this one, we don't just want to add it to this, we want to update it. So what are some cases where we would just add this? Well, the reason we're just adding 1 and 3 is because result right now is, I guess, empty. I guess this is our first interval. So I'll say like if result equals, or I guess I could just say what, not result, if not result. If not result. So that means result is empty, so nothing's been added. We should probably add like the first interval just so we have an idea of what we're working with. But what's the other scenario? The other scenario is like here, if our 2 and 6 is like, if basically the last of the most recent interval added to the result is less than the current interval's starting point. So if not result, or we can say, how am I going to indicate this? So this is, let's presume we've already added the 1 and 6, and we're at the 8 and 10 now. So we'll say result, this is just always going to be the last in our result. So like we could be way down, and then we could be doing the same thing where we're looking at the last value in the interval and comparing it to the first value of this new interval that we're working with. So I guess we would just say result -1, because that means we're looking at the last result. And yeah, because what I'm thinking is, what would happen if, like, wait, let me add a test case here. What would happen if like we had like 5, 5 and 10? Well, what should there should be a 1 to 10, right? Let me just get rid of this. Just say return for now, just so there's no bugs. One to 10. Yeah, so the reason I'm comparing the new interval that we're working with to the result that we have so far is because intervals can add up more than 2. So there could be all 3 of these. So what we want to do is we'd want to start with this, then we want to add this to make it 1 and 6, and then we want to add this to make it 1 to 10. Okay. So what I'll do is we'll say, let me put that back. So if not result, or result -1, so we want to compare the last value in the result's last number in the interval, so that's -1 and 1, if that is less than the current interval's starting value. So if it's less than the current, then we can just straight up add the interval to the result. Okay. Otherwise, what are we going to do? So this means that we're in a case like here where the 3 is greater than the 2. Here we have it where this is less than, but we have to consider now what happens if it's greater than or equal to. Here we have an equal to. They still merge. So what do we do in that case? Well, in that case, we take the last result. We take the last result that we have, and we simply update the last value to be equal to the last value of the newly merged interval. So result -1, 1. This is the last value. This would be in this case, this would be a 3. We're converting it to a 6, which is this one. This will equal to the new interval's for second value, first index. And I suppose this should work. Let's give this a try. Okay, beautiful. Oh wow. I kind of wasn't, I mean the logic makes sense, but for mediums, I'm not entirely used to it. Okay, nice. Okay, I guess we can just submit and see how that looks. Ooh. What do we have here? 1 to 4. Let's think. Okay, so it's replacing with this, but maybe instead of replacing this value with this immediately, maybe we should compare between these two and pick the greater value, because this entire interval lives inside of this one. So we're just shortening the right hand side of it. So maybe we should have like a max, so it'll pick the max between this value and this value. This value is coming, where is this value going to come from? I guess you could just say, well, it's going to say 1 and 4. This is already going to be in the result. We're merging this. So you could just say this. This hopefully should work. I'm going to use this test case. And let's see if this runs. Okay, awesome. Nice. Cool. So essentially what was happening is we had this in the result and we were trying to merge this, but what was happening is none of this was resulting in true because the 4 is greater than the 2, not the other way around, and there is a value in the result. So this wasn't running, but when it came down here, the back end of the result, this was a 3. Sorry, no, this was a 4. But what was happening is it was instantly getting replaced by this, because I had the assumption that, which I probably should have considered this case, but I had the assumption that this was just going to be wider and it was going to extend past the right point, the right hand side of this interval. So now instead it just picks the max between these two values and it returns that. So let's submit this now and see if this runs. Okay, beautiful, awesome. And time and memory complexity seem to be pretty good. So yeah, that's the answer for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys learned something. And if you guys think there's a better way to solve this, please let me know down in the comments below. But that's the end of today's video, and I will see you in the next one.